the first three lessons were on the first verse, which is really in my opinion, the most important verse of the Shema. But now we'll move on to what's really not considered a verse. It's sort of considered a response to the first verse. And it's Baruch Shem Kavod Malkatol Le'olam Vayed, right? So typically in temple, that's sort of a whispered response. So the cantor or the rabbi or whoever's leading the service would say that first verse that we've been studying. And then there would be sort of a whispered response to it. Baruch Shem Kavod Malkatol Le'olam Vayed. And what that is, goes back to, we had talked about in our first lesson, Jacob, his sons gathered about him, and his concern that they remember the holy name, and that they tell him to listen, and they say the holy name, and he is happy, enables him to move on in a happy way, in a fulfilled way, that his sons know this. And his response is Baruch Shem Kavod Malkatol Le'olam Vayed, which means blessed is the name and glorious sovereignty forever and ever, in English. I'm reading it as Sephardic prayer book. So I just want to spend a few minutes on this response and also mention that according to the Mishnah, once a year, the high priest in the temple or the tabernacle would say the holy name from the Holy of Holies, and the response of the people of Israel would be this: Baruch Shem Kavod Malkatol Le'olam Vayed. Right? So, coming down the oral tradition from Jacob throughout, this was the response: Baruch Shem Kavod Malkatol Le'olam Vayed. So, when we look at it, there's two sort of esoteric, there's a lot you could say about it. There's two sort of esoteric things that I wanted to mention, and I think it's good to ponder, right? And one is the sanctification, or when I say sanctification, I mean something that makes something holy, right? That sanctification of the name is fulfilled in the response, right, of the people of Israel, or us, we'll just say. It's fulfilled in the response. So that's a lot to unpack, because you would think if the name is holy, it's holy, regardless of anyone's response. Right? So what the name, the vibrations, we're suggesting, and throughout the Kabbalistic tradition, we're suggesting that these sound vibrations are holy sound vibrations, and they create harmony and peace. So why do we need to sanctify those sound vibrations, or that particular holy name, of which there are many, right? And, there's no one answer to that question. And there are a lot of paradoxes when looking at it, right? But when we say that everything is one and comes from a unified field of pure consciousness, and when we talk about, which we have many times, how that unified field of pure consciousness becomes, and there's a becoming of creation and formation and action, and how all of that happens, we understand that the essence of those vibrations, the building blocks of creation, are the essence of those vibrations going forth, right? So the essence is in the sphere of the relative in every grade. So the essence of what Kabbalists would call Ein Sof, or a scientist might call the unified field, the essence of that consciousness, the essence of that is in all of the grades of the relative sphere of existence. What does that mean? It means it's in the atomic level. It's in the level, in the celestial level. It's in the level of the tree, on the level of the sap, on the level of the bark, on the level of the leaves of the tree. It's deep within us, but it's also in our skin and in our brains and our cellular structures, in all of our organs, right? So the essence of those sound vibrations in what we're talking about in Shema, the holiest, the tetragrammaton, the names Yud, He, Vav, He, right? That essence is there. So how are we sanctifying it? By having this response. Well, it's a completion, a necessary completion of this unified field energy going into the relative and being recognized in the relative by creation itself, right? So, you don't have to recognize your essence. It's not something that everybody does. We go about our business sometimes just in the relative, in the field of action, without recognizing the essence that is within us, right? And when we don't touch that essence and we don't recognize it, it means that, in a sense, we're living in the world of action and separating ourselves from our source. The source of all the laws of nature and creativity is deep within us in this field of pure consciousness, in the emanation of these sound vibrations. So the mystics, the Kabbalists, are saying this sanctification process is the realization. Baruch Shem Kavod Makatole Galam Baged. Blessed is this name within us and all around us. And not just are we saying it's blessed and glorious, we're saying that we are touching it, we are experiencing it, we are realizing it. And that completes the circle from the finest relative to the grossest relative and back again. So what's happening here in the Shema is a declaration that we've talked about in the first three lessons of the first verse. Hear, Shema, Yisrael, Yud He Vav He. It's being revealed to us. We just have to listen. We've talked about that, right? But then beyond listening, we sanctify this process by recognizing it. Simple. It's beautiful and so simple. Baruch Shem Kavod Makotole. So something to ponder for all of us, like, okay, we're part of this creative process. We're part of making things holy, right? And we're part of it by experiencing it and then recognizing its holiness. Otherwise, we can fall into the trap of living separately from it, right? Going about what we're doing, even if it's all good stuff, running and feeding these people and teaching these people and doing all of the, family things. It's all beautiful. But if it's disconnected from its source, it can be a cause of stress and strain and all kinds of negative, harmonizing experiences. So what are we recognizing? Baruch Shem, blessed is this name. Just by saying that alone, you're recognizing the power of the name that is within you and revealed to you. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is the last two words, legolam v'ged, forever and ever. Two words there, very interesting that they're similar in both their meaning and the energies of their letters, right? So the first word, leolam, is lamed ayin vav mem. And basically its meaning is forever. So lamed, as we've discussed before, is a connecting letter. It's connecting us with that infinite source, that foreverness without end. Ein sof, as we know, means without end. Ayin is that I in which that energy comes and goes. Vav is another connecting letter like Lamed. And Mem is about creation. So in the first forever, Leolam, it's recognizing that the infinite and the vibration emanation of the infinite is forever and ever. Leolam, in creation, forever and ever. In a sense, in space. Right? Va'ed is Vav, the connecting letter, with the Ayin again, right? That opening for that energy to come within us and go. And Dalet, which is that door of time and space. So the first word means more like forever, and the second word means more like to eternity, which very similar meaning, yes, but as Rev Cook would say, and he did a dissertation on this, it's about forever in time and space, in space and time. So what's happening is this sanctification, as we're saying, Baruch Shem Kavod Malkut Legolam V'ged, that sanctification that happens in our recognition, in our declaration, goes forever and ever in time and space. So as we do these things, what becomes holy, then I say sanctification, our space, right? So whatever our space is becomes holy. It's not that places are holy. It's that people make places holy, right? So when we say we go to the Holy Land, what's the Holy Land? The Holy Land because people did holy things, recognized the holiness, and the holy space became holy or sanctified. Same thing with time. Much of what we talk about, these Galgal, the wheel of time, we talk about the days of the week and the seventh day and the day of rest and making it holy, right? So this is holy in time and space. And how is it? By the recognition of the name, by the recognition of forever and ever, Ein Sof, Hashem, in pure consciousness. That recognition creates holiness, completes the circle. So next time we'll talk about so we've experienced that sound, vibration, we've experienced it deep within us of that holy names, and then we've declared it as an experience and a holiness. So we're touching that consciousness. And then as the Shema goes further, it teaches us how to be in that state of consciousness during action and in the world of action.